taken by the government to ensure national unity and cohesion. It is also worth noting that already there is a plan which is underway, spearheaded by the parliament, that political parties and all stakeholders come together in the form of a national dialogue which has been going on at the Bomas of Kenya. Of course, Parliament is at the center of this process. The 10-member dialogue team has for the last several months been deliberating on a number of topics and agenda comprising of outstanding constitutional matters, electoral justice and related matters, as well as entrenching funds into the constitution, establishment and entrenchment of state offices, and fidelity to political parties and coalitions, and the law on multi-party democracy, and the elephant in the room being the cost of living. If you're just joining us, these are live pictures from the National Assembly chambers, where a joint sitting of Parliament is about to begin. On your screen there, to your right, that is the Honorable Member for Jomvu constituency, Honorable Badi Twalib. We can also see the county woman member of the National Assembly for Bomet is also in the chamber. Honorable Mushangi is also in the chamber as well. They are waiting for the head of state to make his way into the National Assembly chambers to allow for this process to continue. It is a historic sitting. Kenyans do really see such kind of sittings perhaps twice every year. Now, during his last address to Parliament, the President asked this House to consider a mechanism in the standing orders to facilitate cabinet secretaries to articulate government agenda, explain policy and answer questions on the floor of the House to enhance executive accountability to the people of Kenya through their elected representatives. This is an agenda that has been achieved, and the members of cabinet, the cabinet secretaries, have been coming both to the National Assembly and the Senate, and they've been able to answer questions which have been asked by Kenyans through their representatives in both houses. The president also did commit during his last address to this House to restore the place of Parliament in Kenya's democracy by respecting the autonomy and oversight authority of Parliament on the executive. There on your screen is Kakamega Senator Boni Khalwale making his way into the chamber, and a number of senators are now walking in. To the left, just on the aisle, is the Deputy Speaker of the Senate, who also is the Meru County Senator, walking into the National Assembly chambers to take his seat. There is the nominated Senator This special sitting of Parliament was communicated both by the Speaker of the Senate and the Speaker of the National Assembly, and the President is expected to address it any moment now. When he last addressed Parliament, the President pledged to scale up productivity in agriculture and make sure that every Kenyan farmer, fisherman and pastoralist contributes to sustainable economic growth by contributing to adequate and affordable food. He also did pledge to allocate 50 billion shillings every year to the Hustlers Fund, from which micro, small and medium enterprises would access affordable credit to start and expand their businesses. The President said that there was tremendous opportunity for Parliament to fully take up its role in resolving the systemic issues that limit access to affordable homes and affordable financing. He did call Parliament to be at the center of ensuring that Kenyans have access to affordable homes. And perhaps that is another topic that the head of state might revisit so that he updates the country on what has been done so far to ensure that Kenyans have access to affordable living. We have seen the launching of affordable housing projects. Today, the president was in Ruto to inspect such a project, and he has on many occasions talked about the need for Kenyans to afford decent living, and Kenyans are already contributing to that every month. There are some deductions that are going towards the affordable housing. The president, when he last addressed Parliament on 29th of September, did speak about electricity, that the government shall facilitate the development of innovative and effective modalities to provide better off-grid systems, including enabling consumers to form small cooperatives for that purpose. We may perhaps revisit this and update the country on what has been done so far. And it is not just about infrastructural development. The president will update the country on what is being done to ensure that Kenyans uphold our national values. Those are some of the things that the head of state is expected to address in his speech this afternoon to this joint sitting of Parliament. In his previous address, he did speak about health, where he said that Kenya is bound by duty to take measures to make universal health coverage a reality and liberate Kenyans and their families from the threat harrowing poverty that stalks them every time a family member falls seriously ill. In the plan, then, he said that through the support of Parliament and through the support of all Kenyans, the government will restructure the primary healthcare system so that it puts more resources into promotive, preventive, and early diagnosis of diseases. That is one of the agendas of the Kenya Kwanza administration, and we did see a number of steps being taken both by the executive as well as Parliament to ensure that this is achieved, the universal health coverage is achieved in the country. When he also addressed Parliament last time, he did talk about the realization of the National Health Insurance Fund, whose restructuring is not only necessary for efficiency but also enables it become a fit-for-purpose social insurance scheme that caters for all, including chronic diseases. An update of that, of course, Kenyans are expecting this afternoon. The president also did address issues to do with digital technologies, which he said have become a critical player in economic growth. And what we have seen, what Kenyans have seen in the last couple of months is the steps which are being taken by the president, of course, through the cabinet secretary for information, communication, and the digital highway, digital economy, I beg your pardon, to ensure that the country is connected digitally. The president promised to capitalize on existing technology and innovation in public and private sector to distribute the Hustler Fund as promised in the Kenya Kwanza Manifesto. And he did call upon financial institutions and Kenya's young generation in innovation hubs to participate in the digital economy by redesigning their products to serve the goal of empowering millions armed with grand ideas and are only waiting for the fund to finance their dreams to reality. So Kenyans are expecting the head of state to announce the steps being taken to ensure that this is achieved. The State of the Nation address will begin anytime now, but The president is within the precincts of Parliament, and he will be making his way into the chambers, accompanied by the Speaker of the Senate and the Speaker of the National Assembly. That is Honorable Moses Wetangula and Honorable Amason Kingi, respectively. They will be leading, and they will be accompanying the head of state as he makes his way into the chamber to address this joint sitting and, of course, to address the nation at large. This is the State of the Nation address, and it takes place at least once or twice in a year, and it is an address that is being awaited with bated breath. Kenyans want the head of state to update them on what is being done to ensure that issues to do with the cost of living are addressed. There is some activity at the door. The members who are still within the precincts of Parliament are making their way into the chambers, and any moment now we do expect the head of state, accompanied by the speakers of Parliament, to walk into the chambers to allow this process to take place. Now, there will be a prayer by the Speaker of the Senate, and then there will be convocation by the Speaker of the Senate and by the Speaker of the National Assembly. The Speaker of the National Assembly will invite His Excellency the President to make his address. After the head of state will address the House, and after that there will be an adjournment by the Speaker of the Senate and by the Speaker of the National Assembly. It is not the first time that this is happening. Kenyans have witnessed such occasions before, and what perhaps will vary is the content of that address. Every year, Kenya experiences unique challenges and unique types of progress, and that is what Kenyans are now waiting for, to hear what the head of state has to say regarding the state of this great nation. When he addressed this sitting in 2022, he committed and said that he was determined to ensure that Kenya's tax system is responsive to the needs of the economy. The head of state said that the tax system must be equitable, efficient, and customer-friendly. He did say that the economic principles of equitable taxation require that the tax burden reflects ability to pay. He said that this is best achieved by a hierarchy that taxes wealth, consumption, income, and trade in that order of preference. He said that Kenya's tax regime then fell short of that. The president said that the government then was overtaxing trade and undertaxing wealth. He did promise to propose tax measures that begin to move Kenya in the right direction. What is the status of this? Kenyans are perhaps going to be asking those questions and hoping that they will be answered this afternoon when the head of state makes that address. And he also said in his previous address to Parliament that the government will work with the Kenya Revenue Authority on a culture change to make it a people-friendly, customer-centric organization. He was of the view that it should be renamed to the Kenya Revenue Service in line with the proposed transformation. What is the status of that? Kenyans are waiting for the president to address that, perhaps. There on your screen are a number of members seated, and On your screen there is the corridor that is leading to the National Assembly chamber. On the wall on your right are the portraits of the former Speaker of the National Assembly, who is currently the Attorney General, Honorable Justin Muturi, and the far right is the current Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Moses Wetangula. On your screen is the Sergeant at Arms, followed by the maces. That is on the right, the mace of the National Assembly. On the left, the mace of the Senate carried there, and the clerk of the Senate, and followed by the President, accompanied by the speakers of the National Assembly and the Senate. I will now hand you over for this live broadcast of this special sitting of Parliament. The bicameral House is sitting this afternoon for the State of the Nation address. My name is Edward Kabasa. Enjoy your viewing.
Hiyo imekuwa ni bendi na Rais William Ruto.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya, the Right Honorable Speaker of the National Assembly, honorable members, let us pray. Almighty God, we beseech you to behold with abundant favor and blessings us, your servants, whom you have been pleased to call to leadership positions in this republic. We seek guidance to treat and consider all matters that shall come under deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our country and of those whose interests you've committed to our charge. Amen. You may be seated. Order, honorable members. Your Excellency, the Honorable Dr. William Samoei Ruto, CGH, President of the Republic of Kenya and Commander-in-Chief of the Kenya Defense Forces, the Right Honorable Speaker of the National Assembly, the Honorable Moses Wetangula, AGH MP, honorable members of Parliament. Article 132(1) of the Constitution of Kenya requires the President to address the special sitting of Parliament of Kenya once every year and at any other time. Further, Article 132(1)(c) requires the President to, among others, once every year, report in an address to the nation all the measures taken and the progress achieved in the realization of the national values set out in Article 10 of the Constitution. In addition, Article 240, subsection 7 of the Constitution requires the President, in his capacity as the chairperson of the National Security Council, to report to Parliament annually on the state of the security of the Republic. In this regard, therefore, pursuant to Article 132, 1B, and C1 and 2 of the Constitution, the Presidency, via the letter reference number OP/CAP.26/4A, Volume 2/52, informed the Speakers of the Houses of Parliament of the intention of His Excellency the President to deliver his address to Parliament. Consequently, pursuant to Standing Order number 25(1) and 2 of the Senate, I gave notice of today's special sitting to the Honorable Senators by Gazette Notice number 14716, which was published in the Kenya Gazette on Friday, 3rd November 2023. Accordingly, honorable members, this special sitting is properly convened. I thank you.
Your Excellency, Honorable Dr. William Samoei Ruto, CGH, President of the Republic of Kenya and Commander-in-Chief of the Kenya Defense Forces, the Right Honorable Amason Kingi, EGH MP, Honorable Speaker of the Senate, Honorable Members of Parliament, members of the Diplomatic Corps, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Article 1321B of the Constitution of Kenya requires the President to address the nation once every year and at any other time. Further, Article 1321C requires the President to once every year report in an address to the nation on measures taken and progress achieved in the realization of our national values. Additionally, Article 1321C Roman 3 of the Constitution provides that the President shall submit a report for debate to the National Assembly on the progress made in fulfilling the international obligations of the Republic. In this regard, honorable members, by way of a message to the House dated 26 September 2023, His Excellency the President conveyed his desire to address a joint sitting of the Houses of Parliament today, 9th November 2023. Therefore, pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 22 of the National Assembly Standing Orders, and by Gazette Notice number 14715, which was published in the Kenya Gazette on 3rd November 2023, I gave notice of this special sitting of Parliament to the members of the National Assembly. Accordingly, honorable members, this special sitting is properly convened. Your Excellency, in the custom of Parliament, we recognize invited guests seated in our galleries. I therefore wish to recognize the following guests who are seated in the Speaker's row. Her Excellency Rachel Ruto, EGH, First Lady of the Republic of Kenya, and other members of the First Family. His Excellency Honorable Rigathi Gachagua, EGH, the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya and the spouse of the Deputy President, Her Excellency Pastor Dorcas Rigathi. The Honorable Musalia Mudavadi, EGH, the Prime Cabinet Secretary. and Minister of Foreign Affairs. Your Excellency, honorable members, also present in the Speaker's row this afternoon are the Honorable Lady Justice Martha Koome, EGH Chief Justice and President of the Supreme Court, Her Lady Justice Philomena Mbete Mwilu, MGH, Deputy Chief Justice and Vice President of the Supreme Court. They are accompanied by Honorable Justice Eric Ogola, Principal Judge, the High Court, Honorable Justice Oscar Angote, Presiding Judge in Environmental and Land Court, and Honorable Justice Brian Ongaya, MBS, Principal Judge, Employment and Labor Relations Court. We are similarly pleased to host the former Vice President of the Republic, the Honorable Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka, EGH, who is also the co-chair of the National Dialogue Committee. We are also honored to have in our midst the immediate former speakers of the Houses of Parliament, the Honorable Justin B.N. Muturi, EGH, who is the current Attorney General of the Republic, and the Honorable Kenneth Lusaka, EGH, the Governor of Bungoma County. Your Excellency, allow me to also recognize the chairperson of the Council of Governors, who is also the Governor of Kirinyaga County, the Honorable Anne Waiguru, EGH, and the Honorable Johnson Sakaja, Governor of Nairobi City County. May I also accord special recognition to all Cabinet Secretaries present, Mr. Felix Kosgei, Chief of Staff and Head of Public Service, Principal Secretaries, members of the Diplomatic Corps, and heads of constitutional commissions and independent offices present in Parliament today. Your Excellency, I wish to make a special mention of the Chief of the Kenya Defense Forces, General Francis Ogola, and the respective service commanders, the Inspector General of Police, and other leaders of our disciplined forces who are seated at the Speaker's row. We are grateful for their distinguished service to the nation. To all invited guests, karibuni sana kwa bunge. Honorable members, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is now my singular honor and privilege to invite His Excellency the President of the Republic of Kenya and Commander-in-Chief of the Kenya Defense Forces to address this special sitting of Parliament. Welcome, President.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, honorable members. I arise before this distinguished assembly of the democratically elected representatives of the people of Kenya to discharge my constitutional function under Article 132(1)(c). The occasion requires me to give an account to the people of Kenya, the measures taken by their government under my leadership, and to give full expression and effect to the soul of our constitutional dispensation by implementing the national values and principles of governance set out in Article 10 of our Constitution. I have a substantial report to give on the progress made in fulfilling this solemn covenant, and that the journey of transforming Kenya for the benefit of present and future generations is fully underway. Its positive effect have also begun to bear fruit across many sectors of our national endeavor, from the grassroots all the way to this capital of Nairobi. On the 13th September 2022, last year, when I took office, I undertook to ensure the urgent transformation of our economy and to stop and reverse the negative trends of runaway unemployment, yawning inequality, and widespread poverty, which have denied Kenyans their dignity and extinguished their dreams. The mass appeal of the bottom-up economic transformation agenda was due in large part to the fact that its development and articulation, as well as its content and implementation strategy, represented our national values in action. It was inclusive, democratic, committed to social justice and the protection of the marginalized. Our commitment to bring the national values and principles of governance to life in order to significantly enhance the well-being of every individual and promote the unity, stability, security, and development of our country began long before the last election and will endure well beyond our term. It has been my manifest intention to live up to all the commitments set out in the plan, and despite enormous challenges and tremendous difficulties, we have made encouraging progress in a positive direction. This has not only vindicated our philosophy of inclusive transformation in pursuit of shared prosperity, but it has also increased our confidence that we are on the right path and shall, in due course, deliver the transformation of our nation in full. It is important for us to point out that we began the implementation of our mandate to transform Kenya's economy from the bottom up under extreme difficult circumstances, not to excuse failure or to justify inability or omission to do the necessary work. Not at all. Rather, we do it to emphasize the significance of our progress, underscore the possibility of transformation under daunting conditions, and express well-founded confidence that when sufficient progress is made, we shall do much more and go much further in delivering the Kenya we want for our generations and also for posterity. In our plan, we identified 3 primary challenges: external shocks, fiscal distress, and structural imbalance that heavily strained our economy, causing nationwide difficulty. The COVID-19 pandemic, coupled with global supply chain disruptions and geopolitical conflicts, significantly raised inflation and interest rates, adversely affecting our economy, while low agricultural investment and a prolonged drought led to food shortages and made Kenya a net importer of food in a volatile international market. It was under conditions of such extreme difficulty that the people of Kenya entrusted us with the responsibility of simultaneously generating effective solutions to immediate problems, providing a credible pathway to stability in the medium term, and undertaking long-term structural transformation of our economy, but in a manner which paid attention to the needs and aspirations of Kenyans, especially those at the bottom of the pyramid. The transformation of our economy is not only desirable and important, it is also necessary and urgent. And the people of Kenya have made this clear at every opportunity. Our duty as leaders is to listen keenly and comply with the people's wishes. Kenyans want to proceed in a new direction and demand a new conversation that puts ordinary Kenyans, the mama mboga's security, well-being, interests, and aspirations at the front and center of all policy and governance discourse. Citizen freedoms and fundamental rights lie at the heart of enterprise and democracy. Accordingly, our governance system must be fit for purpose, able to protect people and their belongings, safeguard freedom, facilitate democracy, and promote market efficiency. To do this, law enforcement must be robust, judicial integrity, efficiency and independence, absolute, and the right to the protection of law non-negotiable and impartial. Our police service and other actors in the justice, law, and order chain including the judiciary, must therefore be professional, independent, impartial, effective, and inspired by national values and principles of governance. In keeping with our promise to the people of Kenya, I signed important instruments on my first day on duty. Among them, the delayed appointments of 6 judges to the Court of Appeal as recommended by the Judicial Service Commission. Enhanced allocation through this House to the judiciary by 3 billion Kenya shillings. Designated the Inspector General, who is sitting in this House as the accounting officer of the National Police Service to enhance police independence. The former Chief Justice David Maraga to review the terms and conditions of service of members of the National Police Service. This was necessary, members, so that we can cement our place as a nation on the firm foundation of the rule of law. Together with the people of Kenya, we have changed everything. We have transformed the national political conversation from personalities to issues, from regional or ethnic largesse to opportunities for all our young people, from divisions to inclusion, and from status quo to the bottom-up economic transformation for shared prosperity. To date, Kenyans remain fully seized of the agenda, engaging vigorously and with unrelenting focus on expanding agricultural productivity to deal with the cost of living, affordable housing to create enterprise jobs and dignified dwellings, universal health coverage for a healthy, productive nation, and digital transformation to create e-commerce, create jobs, and make government efficient, effective, and accessible, especially government services. Also, fintechs, including the Hustler Fund, have benefited from the space around technology and the digital transformation. By virtue of the internal coherence of our constitutional dispensation, national values and principles of governance set out core directive precepts whose observance imbues every decision and action with implicit constitutionality. To the extent that our plan is aligned with Article 43, the implementation of the bottom-up economic transformation agenda is a program to intensify the actualization of national values with a special focus on citizens at the bottom of the pyramid. From the first day in office, we have worked hard every day to move our agenda forward amid many challenges to forge a path in the direction of progress. This is the essence of our commitment, to make progress despite challenges and move forward by overcoming great obstacles. We must never be defined by our problems, and Kenya's destiny cannot be derailed by our challenges. Honorable members, not an abstract phenomenon. It is a reality experienced by households, which can be addressed through practical action and effective measures. One of the most salient interventions in addressing the high cost of living is the strategy to support agricultural production throughout the sector, ranging from food and cash crops as well as livestock value chains. I am committed to put the shame of hunger behind us once and for all. We rolled out a countrywide farmer registration and fertilizer subsidy program that has made available 5.5 million bags to farmers across Kenya. We have progressively reduced the cost of fertilizer from 6,500 to 2,500, increased maize acreage under production by an extra 200,000 acres this year, and enhanced maize production by an additional 18 million bags this year. As a result of these interventions, today, a 2-kilogram packet of maize flour is selling at a low of 145 and high of 175, depending on the brand you buy, down from 250 shillings a few months ago. The famous Gorogoro of maize is selling at between 60 and 75. Honorable members, you know how much it costed a few months ago. We have also established 22 new fish landing sites in 9 counties in Nyanza and the Coast region. We have funded and organized beach management units into cooperatives, set up 2 hatcheries in Kabonyo in Kisumu County and in Shimoni in Kwale County. And we are in the process of completing Liwatoni fish processing plant in Mombasa by end of next month, and Shimoni Fish Port by the end of next year. Again, to bring our blue economy resources into the realm of food production. To achieve efficiency, transparency, and accuracy in fertilizer distribution, we enrolled farmers on a digital register with accurate details of the location and acreage of their agricultural land holdings. This database enabled us to implement an e-voucher system through which farmers receive their fertilizer consignments for planting and top dressing of maize, tea, coffee, rice, potatoes, cotton, edible oils, sugarcane across the country. Our farmers are the best people to speak about the success of the fertilizer program. Yesterday, I spoke to several farmers in different parts of the country. Ms. Alice Nato, a single mother in a place called Milo in Bungoma, told me that the 2,500 fertilizer had doubled the yield in her farm from 52 bags of maize last year to 120 bags of maize this year. Another farmer, Mr. Albert Munyi from Embu, appreciated the impact of fertilizer subsidy had in his farm and asked me to work out a way that the fertilizer can be delivered closer to the farmers rather than at the National Cereals and Produce Board depot. I assured him that I will work with the governor of Embu and with all governors to actualize his proposal for him and for other farmers who believe the same. But it was Mr. Samuel Chacha of Kuria who graphically painted the picture of transformation the fertilizer subsidy has done in his farm. With a phrase that struck my mind, he simply told me, Mr. President, shamba yangu ina meta meta. Further, we have made adequate arrangements, including investment in necessary infrastructure to facilitate post-harvest management and to prevent post-harvest losses. 17 certified warehouses jointly managed by the National Cereals and Produce Board and the private sector owners with a combined capacity of 365 metric tons or 4,090 kilogram bags have been prepared in the maize growing areas. The National Cereals and Produce Board shall provide a subsidy maize drying service to farmers at a fixed cost, as was announced by the Minister, of Kenya shillings 70 per bag, which is a significant improvement from the previous rate of Kenya shillings 350 per bag. Yesterday again, the first consignment of the 100 mobile dryers this House facilitated my administration to buy for use by our farmers. I announced to you yesterday the first consignment of the dryers docked in the country. Additionally, We are enhancing dairy productivity for better farmer returns. The government working with milk processors, and I had a long conversation with them in Nakuru. We are mapping the country to ensure coolers are supplied where they are needed. Soon, farmers will be paid based on milk quality, boosting incomes, and they can also enjoy global market access. Our reforms in the coffee sector are bearing fruit, with our farmers set to earn 4 times advance pay for their crop, from a low of 20 to now Kenya shillings 80, following the allocation of Kenya shillings 4 billion from the Coffee Cherry Fund that was ably facilitated by this House. Coffee reforms regulations will give farmers the necessary representation and weight at the national coffee auction. It is my intention to make sure that the auction operates with farmers at the center of it. These measures are expected to aid ongoing efforts, including expanding production to new counties and double coffee output in the next 4 years. The government of Kenya is currently restructuring public sugar mills, expediting the leasing of 5 companies for rehabilitation and expansion to boost industry competitiveness before the Commercial Sugar Safeguards expire. The objective includes creating a competitive sector, raising farmer incomes, and enhancing productivity. This House agreed with my cabinet that we waive Kenya shillings 117 billion non-performing debt for government-owned sugar factories, for which I am grateful to this House. This House also approved 1.7 billion shillings that will go into paying farmer arrears and other complications that arose out of the challenges our sugar sector was facing. I want to promise this House that in the next couple of weeks, we shall be dispersing that money so that farmers in the sugar growing area can go home for Christmas with their money. As earlier indicated, our public borrowing had long crowded out the productive sector from the financial markets, raising the cost of credit and slowing down trade and commerce. As I told Kenyans on my first day in office, times were difficult and many people are struggling, and necessary and effective sustainable solutions were urgently needed. We must admit, honorable members, that as a country, we had been living large and way beyond our means. The time has come, therefore, to retire the false comforts and illusionary benefits of wasteful expenditure and counterproductive subsidies on consumption, by which we dug ourselves deeper into the hole of avoidable debt. The new direction may not be easy, but it is ethical, responsible, prudent, and most importantly, necessary. We've had to take hard decisions and make painful choices because we owe it to the people of Kenya to do the right thing and to confront facts as they are without flinching or equivocating. We have worked hard at home and abroad to mobilize a broad coalition of bilateral development partners. Many of them, I see them in this House, multilateral development banks and other agencies, which have rallied to pull our country back from the brink of debt distress and set us today firmly on the path towards sustainable economic growth. Our efforts to stabilize the situation have yielded such progress that next month, in December, we will be able to settle the first Kenya shillings $300 million or 500 billion Kenya shillings installment of the US dollars 2 billion Eurobond debt that falls due next year. I can now confirm with confidence that we will and we shall pay the debt that has become a source of much concern to citizens, markets, and our partners. Having said this, I further announce to the nation that our intention, consistent with sustained effort here and abroad, have enabled us to normalize our relations with the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, the Africa Development Bank, and various development partners to such an extent that they are now working with us to implement the bottom-up economic transformation plan. As I earlier indicated, our public borrowing had long crowded our productive sector from the financial markets, raising the cost of credit and slowing down trade and commerce, especially the micro, small, and medium enterprises, including Mama Mboga. Consequently, many enterprises and entrepreneurs were referred for blacklisting by the credit reference bureaus, where 7 million borrowers were listed by last year. We committed to provide affordable and accessible credit and restore small business owners to good standing with credit rating agencies. A deliberate, targeted strategic financial inclusion fund, the Hustler Fund, providing affordable credit and mobilizing savings for individuals and small businesses, was launched on the 30th of November 2022. The public response to the Hustler Fund has exceeded most initial projections and surprised even the most hardened skeptics. By the end of last month, the fund had disbursed Kenya shillings 36.6 billion and in savings 2.3 billion, and with 7.5 million repeat borrowers, whose overall repayment rate is at 73%. The top borrower of the fund has so far accessed Kenya shillings 4.5 million in 816 transactions, while the top voluntary saver is at 631,491. In the intervening period, the Hustler Fund has also launched a group product which has attracted 50,000 active groups to the platform, and of which 20,000 have received 151 million Kenya shillings. The Hustler Fund has provided us not only the huge pent-up demand for affordable credit, but also the readiness of Kenyans to express or to embrace credit and savings and to pay their loans on time with minimum prompting. The notion that Kenyans are not creditworthy or are high-risk borrowers is nothing more than an unjust financial profiling, which has, in many instances, become a needless, self-fulfilling prophecy. Yesterday, when I called Harrison Karisa Kenga, a tuk-tuk operator in Mombasa, who has accessed 714,000 from the Hustler Fund, he suggested to me to find a way to have the fund provide asset financing so that he can buy for himself a tuk-tuk because the one he had was not his. I assured him that during my address today, I would ask the ministry responsible to respond to him. Consequently, I hereby direct the Ministry of Cooperatives and MSMEs to expeditiously engage Mr. Kenga. I will give you his telephone number. The impact of the Hustler Fund is summarized by a story of a Mr. Sospita Ondiek from Kisii. I suggest that the Kenyan film industry should look for him. so that he can tell you his full story. Mr. Ondiek has a plumbing and tiling business in Kisii. And through the Hustler Fund, he has accessed 1.7 million in the many transactions he has undertaken to enhance our savings that have consistently been among the lowest globally, and to correct the delayed transformation of our social security architecture. Fundamental reforms are underway in our savings and social security space. As promised, we committed to take deliberate measures to foster a strong culture of savings amongst Kenyans and enable them mobilize resources for investment and development of intergenerational capital to eliminate old age poverty and to ensure comfort in retirement. Until recently, the rate of Kenya's public pension saving stood at 1.4 billion shillings a month, which is the lowest in our region at only 12.5% of our GDP. As a result of our initial interventions, the savings situation in Kenya is changing for the better. Contributions, honorable members, to the National Security Fund have grown from 1.4 billion shillings in January to 6.5 billion shillings every month, this month. The implication of this growth in our national savings is that it will significantly consolidate our nation's ability to invest in development using domestic resources as opposed to us going to borrow other people's money when they save. Honorable members, majority of Kenyans live in their own rural homes, even though many experience land and settlement challenges, including landlessness, insecure land tenure, and perennial squatter problems. Acute housing challenges are principally an urban phenomenon, and they present a serious threat to health and safety, as well as dignity of people, particularly low-income earners. The proliferation of slums in our urban areas indicate the extent of this serious problem and the urgency with which it must be addressed to enable Kenyans have greater choice in leading dignified, safe, and healthy lives affordably. Low supply of affordable housing units in Kenya is acute, making rent a huge component of the cost of living for many households. The increase in affordable housing units is a strategic intervention to not only supply affordable dwellings for Kenyans, but also as a means to reduce the cost of living. 3 categories of houses will be supplied by this program: social housing, affordable housing, and for the rest, market rate housing. Interest on financing is where we intend to make the big difference. Interest at the moment, as all of us know in this house, is at almost 18%. But under this program, all interest should be or will be at single digit. For social housing, the interest will be at 3%. You know, honorable members, that we all get 3%. So even the people in the social space, they also deserve to get 3%. Those in the affordable housing space will get 6%, and 9% for the people in the market category. The affordable housing program has received tremendous support from county governments across Kenya. And I want to thank governors, and I know the chair of the Council of Governors is here, through her, all governors who have worked with us to make sure that this program becomes a reality. The construction of 46,792 units in various parts of Kenya is already underway. while another 40,000 are ready to commence in a couple of weeks. 50,000 Kenyans are working. People who were previously unemployed, they are now engaged directly and indirectly in this enterprise. And the numbers will significantly increase as the projects move into the next phase and as we roll out many more units. A total of 746,795 housing units are in the pipeline as I talk to you under various stages of delivery. More jobs are being created with the formalization of the Jua Kali clusters, providing products like doors, hinges, and windows. And this morning, as I visited one of the sites that I went to launch the construction in March, I was amazed that a site that was flat in March today, and I was with the Member of Parliament for Ruto, today has 11 block units, almost at 60% complete. And I also met the Juakali cluster for Ruiru, and they have been given a contract of 140 million to be able to supply doors and windows. Architects, engineers, quantity surveyors, masons, electricians, plumbers, transporters, steel and cement factory workers, and hardware merchants will be partakers in this transformative plan. I spoke to Moses today at the site in Ruto, an electrician, and he told me out of the 1,700 workers in the site today, he was in charge of 114 electricians who were engaged in that site. And he asked me, Mr. President, make sure the next site is ready for us because we will finish this ahead of time. Let me also say, we are constructing 400 markets across Kenya to provide Mama Mboga with a dignified working environment, complete with water, electricity, and other amenities. And I want to thank members of this House for participating in various ways and working with us and also with the counties in identifying the right locations for these markets. Ladies and gentlemen, honorable members, our education system must develop a formidable reservoir of skill, talent, highly competitive and innovative human capital to support our vision of an economically transformed Kenya. Within weeks of taking office, I appointed the Presidential Working Party on Education Reform, led by Professor Raphael Munavu. My school will be used for the exclusive purpose of monitoring learners' progress and not for placement in any grade. In keeping with our commitment, I was amazed that 56,750 new teachers have been employed. I'm sure the Honorable Milemba can confirm this. While 8,200 primary school teachers were retrained to equip them with capacity to effectively deliver learning and teaching at junior school levels. With changes to the entry requirements for teacher training colleges, admission has increased by 300% to now 20,456 trainees. I was privileged to be in Kwale last week to open the Kwale Teacher Training College, which had only less than 100 students a few months ago. And when I went there, the principal told me that the numbers have increased 4 times. At the tertiary level, the Working Party recommended an overhaul of the existing education funding framework to a variable scholarship and loan model in order to address the financing gap which denied many Kenyans the opportunity to pursue tertiary education in our universities and TVETs, but also created many complications in our universities and institutions of higher learning that by last year, our universities had accumulated debts of close to 60 billion Kenya shillings. I sat down with all the vice chancellors of our 41 public universities, and we came up with a proposal that we are now implementing. The new model for financial support is student-centered and deploys a rigorous, impartial means testing instrument to establish the level of need of every student, which then becomes the primary consideration in allocating scholarships and loans. To fully democratize our education system and make higher education accessible and affordable to all, we have also chartered the Open University of Kenya, following requisite cabinet and parliamentary approvals. The Honorable Milemba can confirm this. While 8,000 I want to thank this House for expediting the Open University Charter that had been in the works for the last 10 years. I also want to announce to you that the first 1,000 students will report next month. In the course of consulting Kenyans from all walks of life during the formulation of the bottom-up economic transformation agenda, the foundational contribution of health to citizen well-being and the role of costs in driving up poverty were identified as chronic. The implications are very clear, and we cannot afford to delay the delivery of universal health care anymore. Consequently, we have instituted radical reforms in the provision of healthcare services in Kenya, including the enactment of 4 new laws that will anchor the implementation of this bottom-up approach to healthcare. I am tremendously grateful to this House and honorable members for enacting the Primary Health Care Act, the new Social Health Insurance Act, the Digital Health Act, and the Facility Improvement Financing Act. These laws, honorable members, will usher in and guarantee a new era in the provision of healthcare, covering all essential services from preventive, promotive, curative, palliative, and rehabilitative services, guaranteeing every Kenyan access to comprehensive and quality healthcare. Under Afya Nyumbani, we have scaled up our investment in healthcare workforce, employing 20,000 new healthcare workers, deploying 8,429 workers whose contracts had lapsed, and enrolling 3,394 interns across the country to increase the availability of human capital in our public health sector. Working with county governments, and I'm again grateful to them, we have taken measures to resolve the perennial challenge of human resource management in the health sector, occasioning strikes, by establishing the Kenya Health Human Resource Advisory Council, which will be a trusted mediator between government at both levels and our health sector workers. Further, under the Afya Nyumbani model, we identified preventive care as an essential pillar of healthcare service delivery because it enables Kenyans to manage their conditions early enough before they cause serious harm in their well-being and productivity. Community health promotion is our bottom-up intervention to deliver preventive and promotive health solutions at the grassroots by deploying community health promoters to visit Kenyans at their homes, provide basic diagnosis for common conditions, and refer cases to appropriate medical facilities. Together with all the 47 counties, and again, I am grateful to the governors, we have deployed 100,000 community health promoters fully equipped with the necessary kits and an electronic community health information system. In the last 1 month, CHPs have attended to 1.2 million households, just in the last 1 month. I spoke on phone to Mr. Masood Dirie, a community health promoter in Garissa, yesterday, who told me he has been a community health promoter, health volunteer since 2011. Unlike before, now he has a full medical kit and has used it to confirm that 7 people in his locality had high blood pressure. In a twist of fate, he tested himself and discovered that he too had high blood pressure. That's what he told me. And so, apart from referring others, he also had to make way to the hospital. Mr. Obembi Ogutu of Homa Bay told me that the program now makes primary health care a paperless engagement, saying it had started to reduce queues in hospitals. Through the Facility Improvement Financing Act 2023, we have established a framework that confers financial autonomy to health facilities, enabling them to retain funds generated with a mandate to improve facilities, capacity, and to provide healthcare services within that locality. In addition, the Kenya Medical Supplies Agency, as part of many radical reforms, will now deploy ICT to manage supply chains of essential health products and commodities. As a result of this small intervention, KEMSA has improved its stocking rate from 40% to 60% in the last 5 months. And we are now targeting 80% by March next year. As is becoming clear, We cannot hope anymore to deliver services to Kenyans in their millions across the country with any measure of efficiency, integrity, transparency, and accountability without ICT. From education and health to agriculture and financial inclusion, digital technologies reign supreme in transforming service delivery, governance improvements, and catalyzing efficiency throughout the economy. We have commenced the rollout of 100,000 kilometers of the last mile fiber optic connectivity to make reliable high-speed internet available throughout Kenya, along with 25,000 free Wi-Fi hotspots in all market centers. The rollout, and I was given a statistics by the end of this year, the first 2,200 will be rolled out, and another 1,450 ICT hubs in every ward. I want to thank the membership of this House for considering to change the NGCDF Act so that you can also deploy those resources in the ICT space and enable millions of young people in your constituencies and wards to access internet and technology for digital jobs, e-commerce, and to give them the possibility of working on remote jobs. I have engaged the chair and committee of this House in that space. We have agreed on the model of how the ICT hub will look like, and I am truly grateful that Parliament came through and considered changing the law so that we can work on this together. We have expanded digital provision of public services to encompass 13,000 services to date, and it is my commitment to ensure full digitization by the end of next month. Our decision to enhance efficiency and integrity in the provision of government services has gone a long way to improve revenue collection. Working with the private sector, we launched the local assembly of affordable smartphones last week in Athi River. Digitization and automation enhance service delivery and citizen satisfaction, and also assures greater accuracy, transparency, and accountability, and reduces opportunity for corruption in the course of transacting with government ministries, departments, and agencies. Corruption, honorable members, wastage, inefficiency, and negligence are serious threats to our transformation agenda and unacceptable practice that has no place in our nation. I have given my firm assurance to the people of Kenya that cases of misconduct and corruption shall be dealt with ruthlessly, with finality, and expeditiously. I ask this honorable House to finalize the Assets Declaration and Conflict of Interest Bill to further tighten our anti-corruption policy framework and eliminate space for those who want to steal our money. The security and safety of all citizens is our foremost commitment and most fundamental obligation, without which every other endeavor is not possible. The reason why Kenya has continued on the path of steady progress is that we have maintained stability, peace, and security by affirming our territorial integrity and maintaining internal tranquility. This is not to say our country has not had its share of security challenges. The specter of terrorism is a continuing threat that we must remain constantly vigilant against. Pockets of banditry, cattle rustling, and armed lawlessness have besieged and devastated communities in the North Rift, Northeastern, and occasionally parts of Eastern and the coast regions. We all know that insecurity disrupts lives and destroys livelihoods. Our country has lost too many people to this menace. Many children have been orphaned and missed school, and many families have been displaced because of lawless men taking up illegal arms and waging war against communities. The government exists to ensure that those who challenge our sovereignty, territorial integrity, national security, and the safety of the people of Kenya are expeditiously countered and rendered harmless. We have therefore taken firm and decisive measures to deal with the challenge of banditry, armed crime, cattle rustling, and other forms of impunity in all parts of the country, beginning with a successful security operation to restore calm in the North Rift. We have been systematic, focused, thorough, unrelenting, and totally committed to removing for good all threats to lives and livelihoods of Kenyans. I know there are pushbacks from the criminals, but I want to assure the honorable members of this House that we will be unrelenting. And until it is done, it is not done. In discharging this commitment, we have been mindful not to use security imperatives to commit impunity, including misuse of resources and extrajudicial infringement on freedoms and fundamental human rights of citizens. Sorry. We are conscious to provide security as a public service for the benefit of law-abiding citizens and as a guarantor of economic growth. Therefore, our security services have been committed to a citizen-centric, rights-focused, inclusive, and community-based security strategy. I am therefore quite clear that there exists no tension between the effective delivery of security services and the upholding of human rights and fundamental freedoms. We can be and therefore must be secure, yet free and democratic. In order to entrench our all-of-society coalition, we have resolved to enhance diversity and inclusion by expanding enrollment in the National Youth Service as an agency to capture young people at the bottom of the pyramid. Consequently, we are doubling enrollment to 40,000 yearly in the National Youth Service and have made it absolutely mandatory that every village, center, town, and city in Kenya is properly represented in the recruitment. To consolidate this proposition, we have directed that 80% of future recruitment to all security services, from the military, the police, KWS, Kenya Forest Service, and all other security agencies, 80% will come from the well-trained, talented, and committed young men and women who have undergone training at the NYS. Kenya finds itself continuously summoned to its duty of care to serve as a reliable anchor to our region's security, peace, and stability. We continue to answer our historic, moral, and strategic responsibilities to deploy our resources in solidarity with our region in general and our immediate neighborhood in particular. To prevent the imminent collapse of Goma in eastern DRC, which we have had would have had serious consequences for the wider East African region, we deployed our troops under the East African Community Regional Force. We have continued to anchor the fight against Al-Shabaab in Somalia under the Africa Union Transition Mission in Somalia. The Kenya Defense Forces continues to make Kenya proud, and I salute them. It is our firm position that only a democratically accountable system that is sensitive and responsive to the adverse and diverse composition of Sudan can secure that country. Given the regional interconnectedness, together with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the US, we have engaged the Jeddah process as IGAD to fashion a framework that will be best placed to successfully deliver peace in Sudan. Honorable members, our economy is firmly interconnected with regional, continental, and global economic systems. Our security and stability is likewise integrated with those of our neighbors. Kenya has a fundamental, essential, legitimate, and clear interest in conducting robust diplomacy in form of bilateral and multilateral engagements. For the last 12 months, we have continued to fulfill our international obligations through Kenya's leadership in the international arena. This is underscored by the high-level summits Kenya has hosted and participated in. Kenya successfully hosted the inaugural first-ever Africa Climate Summit. We also hosted the 43rd Ordinary Session of the Executive Council, the 5th Mid-Year Coordination Meeting of the Africa Union, and the Regional Economic Communities, and the first-ever African edition of the Berlin Climate and Security Conference in Nairobi. All these summits have brought into our country about 30 heads of state and government and over 30,000 delegates from different parts of the world. The government has made deliberate efforts to harness the immense and potential of Kenyans also in the diaspora. Indeed, I established the State Department of Diaspora in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs so that they can fully participate in the affairs of our motherland. I have committed to work collaboratively, consultatively, and collectively with the counties and all Kenyans to uphold our cherished national values as human dignity, equity, social justice, national unity, inclusiveness, integrity, good governance, transparency, and accountability. I encourage all honorable members and indeed all Kenyans to embrace an open mindset in regard to national strategic interests and to leverage on our rich heritage and diversity. One of the greatest strengths of our country is our capacity to devise bold, unprecedented solutions to our threats and challenges, create imaginative strategies to avert danger, and chart new paths to deliver us from adversity. There is no doubt that our nation has been confronted with immense pressure emanating from political misunderstandings sometimes and electoral disagreements. And it is because we have a robust democracy, which we are very proud of. Such pressure can disrupt lives and livelihoods and undermine our economy. Thankfully, Kenyans always find the moral strength and political imagination to reach across the political divide and engage in dialogue in the spirit of goodwill, fraternity, and commitment to the national interest and the welfare of the nation. It would be, honorable members, remiss of me not to mention the ongoing bipartisan process of national dialogue that has enabled our leaders to find common ground on many of the issues whose resolution will accelerate our transformation, deepen our democracy, and enhance national unity. Specifically, I thank the two co-chairs, my good brother, Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka, our former president, and the leader of majority in the House, Kimani Ichung'wah, for doing a wonderful job. Congratulations, gentlemen. I salute the courage and patriotism of my fellow leaders who have embraced national dialogue and engage and encourage all of us to keep up the noble work of bringing Kenyans together. There is so much to report about the progress we have made in serving the people of Kenya and transforming our economy. I have provided only a summarized highlight of the most salient instances of transformational progress in my address. It is my pleasant duty to hand to the speakers of the Houses of Parliament the three reports in full as follows. The 10th Annual Report on measures taken and progress made in the realization of the national values and principles of governance. The 10th Annual Report on progress made in fulfilling the international obligations of the Republic of Kenya. Number 3, the 10th Annual Report on the state of national security. I will not hesitate to acknowledge with profound humility that a lot of the successes we have achieved in delivering the bottom-up economic transformation agenda was due to the patriotic support and solidarity from members of this House, both in the Senate and the National Assembly. We are fortunate to be attempting this ambitious historic project of radical change in a bipartisan era when dialogue, consensus, collaboration, and partnership have replaced dissent, contention, conflict, and disarray as the operating principles of political discourse. Issue-oriented politics, honorable members, is not just a democratic necessity and a pathway to sustainable transformation. It is the most effective way of mobilizing diversity for collective national good. As the world reels from the destructive assaults on democracy and the relentless subversion of human dignity, freedom reigns supreme in our land, and our democracy grows deeper and more robust by the day. Our collective resolve as a nation to further entrench constitutionalism, democracy, good governance is a unique quality, confers on us an incomparable advantage, the power to face the future without fear, to imagine a transformation that extends to posterity and envisions prosperity that benefits our children's offsprings and beyond. As long as we put the welfare of the people of Kenya as our central agenda and play our respective roles in ensuring that government is effective and accountable, efficient and transparent, Kenya's best fortunes are well within our reach. I am persuaded, honorable members, beyond any reasonable doubt, that we shall achieve transformation beyond our wildest dreams within this generation. As a leadership and as a people, we have a historic opportunity to preside over the greatest transformation and progress ever witnessed in our nation. Kenya is a nation of brave, hardworking, enterprising people who are determined to prevail in the struggle for economic freedom and win the race for prosperity. In a nation like ours, great deeds will be accomplished whenever and wherever opportunity exists. This is why the hard work we have done is already showing the promise of abundant fruit. We have laid a firm foundation for rapid development, and Kenya is no longer on the marks. The state of our nation at this moment in time is prepared, all set, and ready to go. I thank you, God bless you, and God bless Kenya. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Honorable members, please be upstanding. Your Excellency the President, the Right Honorable Speaker of the National Assembly, honorable members, we have come to the conclusion of the business of the day, and it is now time to adjourn. The Senate stands adjourned until Tuesday, 14th of November, 2023 at 2:30 p.m. in the Senate chamber. I thank you.
Honorable members remain upstanding. Honorable members of the National Assembly, the National Assembly now stands adjourned until Tuesday, 14th November 2023 at 2:30 p.m. May I also take this opportunity, Excellency the President, to invite all honorable members and our guests to a reception at the Parliament courtyard. May I also request all of you honorable members and our guests to remain standing in your places until the procession of His Excellency the President and the speakers leave the chamber. I thank you.
You have been watching a special coverage of the proceedings of Parliament of Kenya, a joint sitting of the National Assembly and the Senate, where the President of the Republic of Kenya, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, has issued the State of the Nation address. This live broadcast has been brought to you by the Parliamentary Broadcasting Unit in conjunction with the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation. My name is Edward Kabasa. Good evening.
Well, he started his speech shortly after 3 p.m., running into shortly after 4 p.m., keeping it succinct and touching on key issues that many Kenyans had concern over. Of course, the cost of living being the first that he touched on, moving on to affordable housing, security matters, the education sector, as well as debt, and how that repayment would continue starting from next year. These are live pictures, of course, marking the conclusion of the State of the Nation address, maiden address by President William Ruto to a joint sitting of the Senate and the National Assembly. The president's final words on the State of the Nation was that it was prepared, it was all set, and it was ready to go. We are awaiting our team on the ground as they wait to get immediate reactions from members of parliament, senators who were present during the president's speech. Of course, there were guests who were present, the First Lady, as well as the Deputy President and the Prime Cabinet Secretary, among other leaders, and the judiciary, well represented by the Chief Justice and the Deputy Chief Justice. This essentially was the president giving his scorecard on the bottom-up economic transformation agenda, and this was his second address to Parliament, but his first State of the Nation address. And just to further elucidate some of the other issues that the president talked about, the Hustler Fund, of course, opening up now to active groups. He said now they are at 50,000 active groups within Hustler Fund. And he gave some personal stories as well, saying he spoke to a tuk-tuk driver in the coast named Kenga, who requested for asset financing under the Hustler Fund. He gave a directive to the Ministry of Cooperatives and MSMEs to begin on that case. He also gave personal stories of individuals who had benefited from the subsidized fertilizer program, mentioning Alice, a single mother from Bungoma, who says that since the fertilizer had been used on her farm, her harvest had doubled. He also talked about the introduction of efficiency into the agricultural sector with a digital register of farmers and
outside words. Kwanza implementation. Mimi mwenyewe nimetafuta Felix Kosgei nimpe information kuhusu maneno yenye inaendelea ya ufisadi serikalini. Hata ukimpigia simu achukui. Felix, chukua simu, mimi ninakutafuta na sitakuja kwa ofisi yako.
Mheshimiwa kidogo tu. Mheshimiwa, wajua kwamba hawakusikii. Mheshimiwa. Hawakusikii. Na kuuliza hivi Mheshimiwa, kuna jambo pengine ambalo ulitarajia kwamba rais alizungumzia na katika hotuba yake pengine hajaligusia?
What nilikuwa nataka serikali ama rais aongelee sana ilikuwa ni maneno ya funding ya education system. University students are so disgruntled with the new funding system. Na nikiongea saa hizi, bado wanafunzi wengi wamekwama nyumbani. Na hata wenye walienda university na tertiary colleges bado niko na issues. Nilikuwa nataka rais mwenyewe address hii maneno ya funding ya wanafunzi. Nilikuwa tena nahitaji president aongee kabisa kuhusu poverty in old age. Pesa ya NSSF, as much as inaenda kwa NSSF, hii pesa watu wameweka mikakati ya kuirundisha ndio iwarudie. Wakaform companies zenye hata hazina guarantees. What is guaranteed by government stays. Who guarantees these private companies? I need the president to address that. Sikusikia hiyo.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa. Kidogo Mheshimiwa. Sababu ya muda kidogo tu ningependa, manake tunataka kupata sauti za watu kadhaa. Naam. Kidogo nitakutafuta. Asante sana. Mtazamaji, hebu tuzungumze na AG Bwana Justin Muturi yuko hapa. Mheshimiwa, karibu sana kwenye NTV. Mheshimiwa, hotuba ya rais imekamilika. Je, umeridhika na hotuba yake leo? Pengine has it met your expectations?
I came here to listen to what the president was going to tell, what he had to say to Kenyans, but more importantly, in the knowledge that he was to fulfill a constitutional obligation. In fact, I think the president stopped, as he said, he could not narrate everything that his administration has so far embarked on in fulfilling the obligations under the Constitution, many of which he took the liberty to give examples. Those examples were merely to demonstrate the extent to which this administration has gone to implement, particularly the requirements on Article 10 on national values and principles of governance. The President went on to illustrate the number of international engagements that this country, since he took office, has had with the rest of the world. Again, remember that is in fulfilling the obligation under Article 132. So, in a nutshell, without having to go over every bit about what the President said, I would say that the speech delivered today met my expectations.
Na ofisi yako imeguswa, manake rais amezungumzia swala la ufisadi na akasema kwamba wale ambao watapatikana wakihusika katika ufisadi watashughulikiwa ipasavyo kisheria. Je, pengine mikakati iliyopo kwa sasa kupambana na hili swala la ufisadi kama alivyosema rais ni ipi kutoka ofisi yako?
So for us, what we do is we prepare the laws, the bills, and then we submit them to Parliament. So what we do with regard to the laws perhaps may not be well known, because when the bills come here, they assume that they run through in the name of the majority leaders. And that's the way it should be in a presidential system. But I'm happy that Parliament has also been assisting us in making sure that we address this issue of corruption by, as the President said, processing the remaining bills, the key one being the one on conflict of interest. But also in that area, we have also been working in collaboration with all the institutions of governance, particularly the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, because we collaborate. The Office of the Attorney General is the one that coordinates all those bodies. So we collaborate with all of them, and we are happy.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Justin Muturi. Basi mtazamaji, kuna mengi tutakuwa tunazungumza na viongozi kutoka upande ule, lakini upande wa pili mwana mwenzangu Dan Kanaemba kwa sasa ningependa nimrushie. Haemba, uwanjani wako.
Asante sana mwenzangu Nick Wambua. Basi tuko katika bustani ya bunge, nitaweza kuzungumza na Waziri Kipchumba Murkomen. Pengine utueleze your take, President's maiden State of the Nation address. Of course, the first time he came, it was to open the newly elected parliament, the 13th parliament. This is his maiden State of the Nation address. What is your take home?
I think one of the things that you get from the President is a honest conversation. There is no sugar coating. It is about appreciating the situation that we are as a country, from our economic situation to the financial situation, and having practical but long-term solutions, because it would be easy to go the populist way, and the populist way would be subsidy here, throw this thing here. But the President is laying a very strong foundation for purpose of implementation of the bottom-up economic agenda. And I like the fact that in his speech, he is accounting for every sector, even though that's, 1 hour is a very short time to do all the sectors, but he's accounting sector by sector, but on the main issues that really define bottom-up, the things that affect Mama Mboga, the people of border, the issues that are related to making sure that you are going to turn around the cost of living. And I think in this 1 year, we can giving credit to the President. He has laid a firm foundation for us to be able now to build on in this second year. By the time he's going to give his next year State of the Nation address, I think we can now give statistics and figures of the turnaround in the economy, but also on issues that are related to infrastructural development.
Firm foundation indeed, but many ask that when you compare the Kenya Kwanza administration, the state of the economy they inherited, to the 2003, the much dilapidated economy that the NAC regime inherited, what makes it difficult in so far as the results are concerned in what the NAC regime did in 2003, having inherited an almost maybe worse economic infrastructure compared to what the Kenya Kwanza administration inherited?
You cannot compare what President Kibaki inherited from what President William Ruto inherited. What President Kibaki inherited was a weak economy, but headroom for, he didn't inherit debt, he did not inherit high prices of fuel caused by external factors. He did not inherit devalued currency caused again by external factors. Much of what was happening in 2002, 2003 was basically mismanaged economy that had a great potential. But you're dealing here with situations that have external factors that are so heavy, and you're dealing with a debt situation that is humongous, and you're trying to reduce on borrowing at the same time gearing towards economic growth. And I think this is far much different, and President Ruto has steered it in a very cautious but bold manner.
Lastly, address us on the issue of security challenges in the country. We appreciate the fact that you come from the North Rift, Elgeyo Marakwet County to be specific. Those who believe that even your neighbors, they are not sure whether they will wake up tomorrow to have their livestock still intact. Before the administration took charge, there was perception that perhaps it was politically instigated. 1 year down the line, the North Rift is still bleeding from this problem of insecurity, banditry, cattle rustling. What would be the end game to this?
It would be a lie to say that banditry started 10 years ago, 20 years. It is something that is about 60 years old, and it has been consistent for a long period of time. The difference between what we are doing and what happened in the second term of Jubilee administration is that we are taking bold steps. And the Minister of Interior and my colleague, Professor Kindiki, has done a tremendous job. Many families have returned back. You yourselves cover the stories in Baringo, for example. People have gone back to doing their farming. In Kerio Valley, we have reduced the cases to specific areas. And I think the progress we've made, we must harness it and build on that foundation to make sure that we complete the remaining. On our side, as a Minister of Roads and Transport, we've done also tremendous work to open up roads that help our law enforcement agencies to access the most.
It is finally done.
The progress that we are building on and what Professor Kindiki is doing with his Minister of Interior, I think we are going to have exception. This will be the administration that will end the banditry in Kenya.
Thank you very much. That is Transport CS Kipchumba Murkomen. Over to you, Nick Wambua, iwapo unanipata basi hatamu, chukua hatamu.
Naam, bila shaka Haimba, mengi yanaendelea upande huu, bila shaka viongozi wakijadiliana kuzungumza hapa na pale. Nadhani kwamba wanajaribu kuzungumzia hotuba hii ya rais kama ilivyokamilika. Nizungumza na baadhi ya viongozi hapa. Karibu mheshimiwa, mheshimiwa Kajuju hapa. Hujambo na karibu. Pengine tuzungumzie hotuba ya rais, umeipokea namna gani kwanza kabisa?
Kwanza niseme asante sana kwa rais wetu William Ruto, sababu amekuja kuongea na nchi kwa State of the Nation Address, kutuelezea kulingana na vile alikuwa anatafuta kura zake na anaahidi wa Kenya kama tuko kwa hiyo barabara tayari, na vile anaendelea kutupangia tukiwa wa Kenya wananchi ambao anaongoza. Na nimefurahi sababu nimesikia ameshikilia mambo ya ukulima, ameshikilia mambo ya fertilizer kwa wakulima, na pia ameshikilia kuhakikisha kwamba watu wetu wamepata afya bora. Ndio sababu ameongea na watu wengi, community health providers, wale walipewa hiyo kazi na wakasema ya kwamba wanafanya kazi. Pia tumeongea mambo ya independence ya institutions. Ameinsist na amesema tena sana ya kwamba sisi constitutional commissions, sisi judiciary, tunafaa kushikilia na kuhakikisha kwamba nchi yetu iko na accessible services. Tumechunga transparency na efficiency ndio wananchi waweze kupata kazi inafanywa na wale wameajiriwa nchini kufanya kazi.
Vile vile rais amezungumzia swala la serikali kuu kufanya kazi na serikali za kaunti. Na jana asubuhi ya leo kuna uamuzi ambao umetolewa kuhusiana na mama Mwangaza kutoka kaunti ya Meru, kaunti utokayo nadhani kama sijakosea. Je, hisia zako ni zipi kuhusiana na swala hili na semi zake za rais pengine?
Unajua rais amesema ya kwamba amefanya kazi vizuri sana na serikali za majimbo, na pia tunaona ya kwamba katika ile jimbo letu la Meru kulikuwa na tashwishi pale ambao wale MCAs walikuwa wamefanya impeachment na ikakuja bunge la seneti, na ndio kawaida inafaa impeachment ikipitia county assembly inakuja seneti, alafu seneti nayo inadhibitisha ama inakataa. Kulingana na wisdom ya Senate walikataa ile maombi ya County Assembly. Kwa hivyo sasa ni kazi kwa governor wetu wa Meru ajue ya kwamba arundi afanyie wananchi wa Meru kazi, sababu kile kitu mwananchi wa Meru anataka ni service delivery, na president wetu amesema ya kwamba ameachilia pesa ile inafaa kutoka kwa national government iende kwa county governments. Kwa hivyo sasa mimi ningeomba tu yule gavana wetu wa Meru aanze kufanyia wananchi kazi na jaribu sana kuleta uwiano kati ya wananchi wa Meru, ndio sasa kila mtu akae kwa amani na tukae tukiwa tunapendana. Kwa hivyo tunasema tu ni asanti na tunashukuru kwa siku ya leo.
Asante pia kwa mheshimiwa. Mtazamaji, nizungumze na mheshimiwa mbunge wa Garissa mjini kabla nirushie kwake Duncan Hemba kidogo tu dakika moja. Mheshimiwa, karibu sana.
Asante sana.
Hisia zako ni zipi kuhusiana na semi na hotuba ya rais ndani ya bunge, na hasa ukigusia swala la bipartisan talks ambapo amezungumzia wanakamati wawili ambao walikuwa wanaongoza kamati hiyo, Kalonzo Musyoka na Kimani Ichung'wah. Unazungumziaje semi za rais kuhusiana na uwiano wa taifa?
Okay, asante sana. Mimi ni MP wa Garissa Town. Na nataka first of all kurudishia shukrani our president for the good address he has given to the nation today. In my opinion, he was giving us a feedback on the programs that he had laid down in the first year of his administration. A feedback such as mambo ya chakula, the impact of the results out of the fertilizers, subsidized fertilizers given, and all the other factors that helped to reduce the cost of foods and cost of doing business in this country. So for that we thank him. Secondly, on the issue of security, one thing that caught up my attention was the fact that the fight against terrorism should be done within the precinct of the law. That the security agencies must act within the law in order to fight terrorism, not the way it is now, where people are abducted, individuals are executed without the due process of the law. Now, on the issue of you have raised on bipartisan talks, that is a good thing from the president, a good gesture from him. He won the elections for sure. Those who had a complaint, an issue on this issue, he is trying to bring the country together, and we fully support him on that, so that our country, this is our country, we have nowhere else to go, and everybody who has an issue must also be ready to work within the precincts of the law and the constitution. So we are happy of what he has done. On the other issue, the president also talked about, the other issue the president talked about of importance is education. In our region, we have a serious problem of teachers, and he has recruited 56,000 teachers, and now he has promised to do more, and that we have also met the president before in his State House, and he has promised us as the people from that region that we will be given an affirmative action plan in order to close that gap for teacher shortages in the region.
Asante sana mheshimiwa. Nasema ni asante. Basi mtazamaji, nimrushie mwenzangu Duncan Hemba, namuona yuko tayari upande wa pili vile vile, aendelee na haya mahojiano. Hemba, uwanjani wako.
Asante sana mwenzangu Nick Wambua. Kwa kweli mambo yanaendelea kufikia kikomo hapa katika bustani ya bunge. Kwa sasa niko naye mbunge wa Dagoretti Kusini KJ John Kiarie. Kwanza kabisa tunaona leo rais amefanya hotuba ambayo si ndefu sana, na kuna wale wengine pengine watafikiri kwamba alikuwa anatoa hotuba hiyo kutoka kwenye kichwa chake, yani off cuff, lakini yaonekana mambo yamekwenda kisasa, teknolojia. Manake ikakuaje? Je, ni mitambo ya bunge, teleprompters za bunge, au ni namna gani rais ameweza kuwasilisha ujumbe wake leo kwa taifa?
Asante sana Duncan Hemba, na shukran sana kwa NTV kwa kupeperushia Wakenya taarifa hizi moja kwa moja. Niseme kwamba rais amekuwa ni champion mkubwa sana wa teknolojia. Ndio kwa maana kwenye mpango wa Kenya Kwanza unaona kitu ambacho kimetiwa kipaumbele sana ni swala la the digital superhighway ambayo amewekeza kwa njia kubwa kuhakikisha kwamba kunayo kilomita 1,100 ya fiber ambayo itaongezwa, kunakuwa na kwamba kutakuwa na digital hubs ambazo zitakuwa ni 1,450 na kutakuwa na wifi hotspots katika soko zetu, soko moja, soko 25,000. Ni kumaanisha kwamba amekipa kipaumbele sana swala hili zima la teknolojia, lakini sio kwa maneno tu. Katika kuleta hotuba, wasomi wanasema kwamba kuna style na kwamba kuna form. Kwenye style uliona kwamba vile ambavyo aliwakilisha hoja zake ilikuwa ni tofauti sana na vile ambavyo kumekuwa kukitendeka hapo awali. Wengine hata watadhania kwamba rais alikuwa anaongea kutoka kwa kichwa chake, lakini ametumia teknolojia mpya ambayo ni teknolojia ya teleprompter. Lakini ukiingia kwenye form nayo utasikia kwamba ameweza kutumia mbinu mpya za kuleta hotuba. Ati kwamba jana kabla hajahutubia nchi, rais aliweza kuongea na mamia wa Wakenya. Yaani kwamba alipata ripoti kutoka kwa Wakenya moja kwa moja. Aliweza kuongelesha wakulima, akaongelesha wale ambao wamenufaika kutoka kwa Hustler Fund, ameongelesha wahudumu katika sekta ya afya, na ndio kwa maana anaongea masuala ambayo sio ripoti tu, bali ni ushuhuda wa ukweli ya yale ambayo yanatendeka. Niseme kwamba hotuba yake ilikuwa ni fupi, ndio risali moja, lakini ilikuwa imejazwa na hasa na kuweza kutuambia kwamba ni jukumu letu sisi wote wa Kenya kuweza kuchukua hatua za kuendeleza nchi.
When we talk about, you're the chairman of the ICT committee in the National Assembly. When we talk about the last mile rollout of the fiber optic, under President Kibaki's regime, there was the talk on the fiber optic rollout. President Uhuru Kenyatta's 9 years the same. This administration, for how long are we going to have this budgetary allocation or the promise of the rollout on fiber optic?
Let me say that if you have a good program, there is nothing wrong in keeping it going. But for us who are in the digital sector, really congratulate His Excellency the President Emeritus Mwai Kibaki for visioning in Vision 2030 the big whole idea of a digital superhighway. Unfortunately, in the last 9 to 10 years, that program really did not take off as it should have. So that you find projects like the Konza Technopolis are only getting a shot in the arm in the new administration of President William Ruto. So it means that the President William Ruto is the one who is committed to actually get us back on track in developing what it is that had been envisioned by President Kibaki in the master plan called Vision 2030. And think about it. The digital space might end up to be the biggest infrastructural investment that we make as a country and the most beneficial. I'm speaking from Dagoretti South constituency, where we have seen the impact of the digital innovation hubs at Kabete Technical and at PC Kenyanjui, where young people are getting some digital literacy skills, and in a matter of weeks, they come from learners to earners. What does that mean? It means that the traditional places where we have been looking for opportunities for work, which has been government and the private sector, are being complemented by digital jobs that can be done 24 hours a day, and the earnings are impressive. Duncan Kayemba, I would request NTV to just take some time and study the digital innovation hubs concept and see the benefits, where we are finding in one of the centers, learners are earning in excess of 2 million Kenya shillings a month out of digital jobs. So this investment in the digital literacy and in the whole digital economy space is actually going to bear fruit. And to my mind, yes, it is going to be even more critical.
But is it a question of fattening a bull before slaughter? Because you remember there was hue and cry in the finance bill before it became an act on some of the taxation measures that had been proposed by the committee. Of course, there was uproar. So on one hand, this administration says it's going big on digital economy, but on the other hand, it had already removed its sword, ready to yank off a sizable chunk of whatever the creative economy is getting from the digital space. So is it the question of fattening a bull before slaughter?
Actually not. Actually not. Duncan, you've got to think about it, that in any economic sector, if you are making an earning, it is assured that it shall be taxed. In fact, the debate that was there in the finance bill, and it is a debate that we won, we who are in the creative economy space, was the debate on the amount, because the committee had proposed to do a tax increment that would see people in the digital space paying in excess of 15% in taxes. And we decided that that shall be too high. And that is why we were giving a pushback to the Finance Committee. And the President had the cry of the people in the digital economy. And it came from a high of 15% to now the law that we are seeing of 5%. But the big issue here is the principle of it. You who runs a TV station pays taxes. So if someone is going to be a digital content creator, some of who are earning in millions a month, they should also be onboarded into the tax bracket. The thing is that the taxes should not be punitive. But think about it. The bigger point I was making before the interruption, the bigger point was that the digital space might end up being as important, if not more important, than your traditional high capital intensive infrastructure sectors. We have been over-investing in agriculture, over-investing in education, over-investing in roads, and it's a good investment that bears fruit. So we need to think about the nascent industries, industry like the emerging technologies, the industry in media, the industry in the digital economy, which will end up also contributing in a big way to the economy of this country, and exponentially so. The results, as I said, are almost immediate.
Thank you very much. That is Dagoretti South Member of Parliament, KJ, who is the chairman of National Assembly's Security Communication and ICT Committee. Mandera County Woman Rep, Mheshimiwa, could you tell us, Mheshimiwa Kasim, I almost thought that maybe I'll be calling you a name of a male gender, but thank you for that nonetheless. What is your take from the speech, especially on matters of universal health coverage? Because the president, of course, after the rollout, the launch on Mashujaa Day, as a woman from northeastern Mandera County, what is your take from his speech?
I'm actually excited on the UHC program because, as you know, Mandera is actually cut off from the country, because of the insecurity, because of the road network. At least one side of it is on health, because Mandera has the highest maternal mortality and infant mortality. So the UHC program is welcome, and we hope it's going to benefit our people and reduce the maternal mortality rate. Generally, the speech of the president was good, but I really wanted it to come out clearly on matters of floods. You know that it's actually a national disaster as we speak. Mandera is cut off completely. No foodstuffs can go in, no medical equipment or any other help that can go into the county. Anything that is going to Mandera has to be airlifted, and we actually told the president the other day about it. But we really are disappointed, at least leaders from the north, that the president did not touch on the floods. The floods are causing havoc. If he declared it as a national disaster, we would have gotten support from other non-state actors.
Thank you very much. Mandera County Woman Rep, of course, expressing her disappointment that the issue of floods, that is now a big concern in northeastern part of the country. We are still programmed with the traditional 8 provinces. So when we talk of northeastern, eneo la kaskazini mashariki, ambako wanasema kwamba wametamaushwa, manake mvua masika yameanza na hawakusikia serikali ikigusia mawili matatu. Je, ni kuambua sijui utatueleza vipi? Naona kuna wabunge ambao uko nao, na tunapochungulia rais anafanya nini hasa?
Wamepanga foleni wengi, lakini haimba, hilo ni swala muhimu ambalo rais hajalizungumzia, manake vile vile kumekuwa na utata. Je, ni El Nino au si El Nino? Rais hajazungumzia hilo kabisa, na nadhani kwamba ndo hilo bunge anazungumzia. Lakini mtazamaji, kama alivyokutajia Haimba, ni kwamba idadi ya watu wengi wa bunge, wengine wanapiga picha, wengi tu ambao bila shaka wangependa kutoa mchango wao kuhusiana na swala hili. Mheshimiwa, karibu sana. Huyo ni Seneta Lekuton. Mheshimiwa Lekuton Laisamis, kunradhi. Bila shaka kuna mengi ambayo rais amezungumzia, pengine upande wa kwako kuna jambo ambalo unahisi kwamba rais hajaweza kuligusia. Tumesikia mbunge wa Mandera amesema kwamba rais hajazungumzia swala la mafuriko na mvua ya El Nino, hajazungumzia hilo. Je, ni lipi ambalo pengine unahisi kwamba rais hajalizungumzia kwa kina ama hajaligusia katika hotuba yake?
Well, kwanza namba moja ni ya kwamba amegusia mambo mengi juu ya nchi yetu na kutupatia hope ya kwamba tunaweza kuwa na shida sasa hivi, lakini tutazidi kujitahidi na kusonga mbele na tungoje tuvune matunda. Lakini jambo ambaye ningependa kuguzia kidogo ni mambo ya mafuriko. Pia kwangu mahali na represent Al-Islam's constituency tulikuwa na shida mingi. Karibu watu wawili wamekufa, mifugo zimechukuliwa na maji, manyumba zimechukuliwa na maji. So shida kama hiyo ndio ilikuwa ningependa ngeongelea, na baada aliongelea mengi ambaye pia inahusu nchi yetu na ilikuwa very positive.
Nini ambacho kimekufurahisha zaidi katika hotuba yake rais?
Ni kupatia sisi kama wa Kenyans hope ya kwamba tunaweza kuwa na shida sasa hivi. He said we living beyond our means. So we should buckle up, funga hiyo mshipi na kuwa ready to face tough times, tukingoja times ambaye kutakuwa na mafurahisho na vitu kama ambaye tutafurahia kuwa na nchi yetu. Lakini lazima tukiwa na shida sasa hivi tungoje tu, kwa sababu iko siku ambayo tutafurahia. So let's bite the bullet. Yes.
Na bila shaka sasa mtakuwa mnajadili hotuba yake Rais William Ruto wiki ijayo. Pengine sasa baada ya hapo, hebu eleza Mkenya pengine ambaye hana uelewa mzuri kuhusiana na swala hili, baada ya nyinyi kujadili hiyo hotuba yake Rais itakuwa namna gani?
Tutajadili the whole week kama hiyo ni procedure ya bunge, kwamba baada ya president kupeana speech tutajadili the whole now MPs wataweza kutuambia yale ya president amesema na yale hakusema, na pale tu tutaanza yeye mwenyewe atasikiza vile tunamwambia kama wa Kenya. Na mimi naona ya kwamba I think he did a good job today, very good job. Now it's very positive, at least very positive, and we'll move on with that from there. Yes.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Lekuton. Asante. Mheshimiwa karibu sana. Karibu upande huu. Kwanza napenda rangi yako.
Shukrani.
Nini ambacho kimekufurahisha katika hotuba Rais kwa siku ya leo?
Rais ameweza kusema ya kwamba kuna maneno ambayo tumeweza kushughulikia kama serikali ya Kenya Kwanza, na tumeona kweli ya kwamba kama ni subsidized fertilizer, mimi nimeona ama nimeshahidi pale Kirinyaga County ya kwamba wakulima wanafurahia. Pia kama ni maneno ya ukulima wa kahawa, tunajua kwamba wakulima wamekuwa kitete ya kwamba bei ziko chini sana, lakini kama tulivyoona wameweza kuweka 4 billion kwa ile cherry fund ya coffee ili wakulima wakuwa wanapata advance payment ya shilingi 80. Labda niseme ya kwamba leo hotuba ya rais imekuwa kwa kifupi, na pia ameweza kuguzia kwamba Hustler Fund tumeweza kufanya rollout ya kuhakikisha kwamba pia biashara zinaweza kupata pesa ili waweze kujiendeleza, ama kama ni kina mama ama groups zinginezo.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Njeri, karibu sana Mheshimiwa. Jitambulishe tu alafu kisha utufahamishe, je, katika hotuba ya rais tukifunga tu pengine nini ambacho kimekufurahisha sana katika hotuba ya rais?
Yes. Asante sana. Mimi ni Peter Oscar Nabrindo, mbunge wa Matungu constituency ambayo iko Kakamega County.
Nimekuwa kule.
Mimi ni mwakilishi wa wakulima wa miwa. Na leo katika hotuba ya rais kitu ambacho nifurahisha sana ni kwamba rais ameongea juu ya universal health care. Universal health care ni kitu ambayo tulikuwa tunataka sisi kama viongozi, kwa sababu watu ambao wako na shida ya matibabu, mashida ya afya ni watu ambao sisi walitupigia kura. Kwa hivyo hilo ni jambo ambalo nimecite kwamba president ako serious juu ya hilo jambo na anapanga kuliimplement, na ameongea juu yake vizuri sana. Akasema kwamba kuna mipangilio kambambe ya serikali ya kuweza kufanya huo mpango wa afya, na pia mpango wa kilimo. Ameongea juu ya kilimo kwamba wanapeana mbolea, wanapeana mbegu, na wakulima wingi kupata kama kule kwa Rift Valley upande ya Western wametoa mazao kuliko yale ya mwaka uliopita. Ni kwa sababu serikali imejitolea at least kuwapatia vifaa ambavyo wanahitaji ili kuweza kufanya hiyo kilimo. Lakini pia kuna mambo ambayo ninaona rais hajaguzia na ni mambo muhimu sana katika taifa letu. Jambo la kwanza ni gharama ya maisha. Magharama ya maisha iko juu, lakini rais hajapeana mbinu mbinu gani serikali itatumia ili kuweza kurudisha chini gharama ya maisha. Na jambo la pili ni bei ya mafuta. Bei ya mafuta inapanda kila wakati, na juzi waziri mwenyewe wa afya wa Kawi amesema kwamba itazidi kupanda. Hilo ni jambo ambalo rais wa nchi angeweza kutueleza sika viongozi na nchi kwa ujumla kwamba serikali yake iko na mpangilio fulani kwa kuweza kupunguza bei ya mafuta na gharama ya maisha kwa ujumla. Lakini kwa uzuri president tunampenda, mimi nampenda kwa ujumla, hata kama niko upinzani, na namtakia heri njema.
Asante sana mheshimiwa, unampenda rais kwa ujumla. Asante. Na basi kwa sababu umesema kwamba kuna mambo ambayo serikali hajagusia, hii ni afisi ya msemaji wa serikali, naibu msemaji wa serikali Mwanaisha Chizoga. Yeye alikuwa bosi wangu, ndiye msingi wa karia yangu ama kazi yangu ninayofanya kwa sasa. Karibu sana Mwanaisha.
Asante.
Pengine manake unajua kwamba kuna baadhi ya wabunge ambao tumezungumza nao hapa wanasema kwamba rais hajagusia swala la mafuriko, swala la El Nino. Kwanza nataka kuelewa, je, kuna El Nino kama mvua El Nino ama ni mvua nyingi tu ambayo inashuhudiwa humu nchini?
Unajua kwa sasa ni mvua nyingi ambayo inashuhudiwa, lakini El Nino si kwa mvua peke yake. El Nino wakati mwingine ni mafuriko ya maji yakiwa mengi ambayo yanaathiri maeneo ambayo yako na nyanda za chini. So inaweza kuwa pengine Nairobi mvua si nyingi hivyo, lakini kama kule maeneo ya Tana River na Mandera maji yote yanateremka kule. So athari za mvua nyingi ya huku ndio inasababisha mafuriko katika maeneo. Lakini la muhimu si kwamba ni El Nino ama ni mvua. Ni je, serikali inafanya nini kuhakikisha kwamba wale wanaoathirika na maafa ya mafuriko wanapata usaidizi.
Jambo ambalo rais hajalizungumzia katika hotuba yake.
Hakulizungumzia leo, lakini mikakati ipo. Jana waziri Bi Malonza alikuwa katika maeneo ya Mandera na Tana River akiangalia hali halisia. Tumeweka fedha za kusaidia wale ambao wameathirika na mafuriko. Shirika la Red Cross likishirikiana na serikali wamepeana vyakula, wamepeana matent katika wale wameathiriwa. So process ipo. Sasa zingine mambo mengine ambayo yanaendelea kufanyika si lazima rais ayaseme, lakini mikakati ipo, na runinga yenu ya NTV iliangazia swala hilo kwamba mambo yapo yanafanyika, lakini we need to do more. Na kumbuka ushirikiano wa serikali kuu na county government, mikakati ilikuwa imewekwa awali ya kukabiliana na mvua ya El Nino ambayo sasa ndio yanaendelea. Kwa ile mikakati ya fedha tulizoweka katika serikali kuu na county, hasa manufaa yake ndio tunayaona kwa wale walioathirika.
Ili tufunge, maana maelekezo yangu nitajua, nitaniambia kwamba tufunge. Mwisho kabisa, kifupi tu, umeridhishwa na hotuba ya rais kwa siku leo? Miaka nyingine tumeona kwamba hotuba inakuwa ndefu, saa 2, leo imekuwa kama saa 1 hivi nadhani. Umeridhishwa na hotuba ya rais?
Kabisa, leo ilikuwa fupi and to the point. Ni maswali na sio maswala ya nitafanya, maswala nimefanya. Changamoto zipo, lakini bei ya chakula ya unga imeshuka. Changamoto zipo, lakini tumeweza kutoa maswala ya elimu. Changamoto zipo, lakini tunashughulikia. So it was positive, imepatia Wakenya matumaini, and we are looking forward to do more for our people. Yeah.
Asante sana Mwanaisha, nasema ni asante. Mtazamaji, basi itabidi tukamilishe hapo. Wabunge ni wengi, alafu muda ndo haupo. Niwape salamu tu tafadhali.
Mbunge wa Lamu Magharibi, na kwa wakaji wa Lamu Magharibi, leo tumekuwa na hafla mzuri ya rais, na ametueleza mambo mazuri ambayo vile mikakati ile ambayo ameweka ya
is a transport and infrastructure. Where are we as a country in terms of reaching the target that you had already set as the ministry?
As a ministry, remember when we came in, the key statement that the president made today was that we must live within our own means. And so ours was first to stop new projects. And we agreed that we can't start new projects because that would require us to spend more, to do more borrowing, to do extra expenditure that is going to break the headroom. Now, what we've done in the ministry is to give ourselves a target of completing the existing pending roads that are that is a length of about 3,500 kilometers. Remember that we have a pending bill that is currently pending of about 150 billion. We have been, the whole year we've been having lengthy conversations with our development partners. We think that we have made great progress, and the president is going to be able to update the nation early next year that we should be able to resume construction of most of the roads. The rest of the programs at the port, at the airport, and other major infrastructural development, some of which we want to become flagship projects for this administration, is going to be delivered through the public-private partnership as a way of cushioning the people of Kenya, and in keeping with what the president said, that we must live within our means. We must deal with the situation as it is. Transport is important, infrastructure is important, but we must deliver it through a means that is not going to overburden current and future generations.
Maybe before I let you go, a very quick, when you're just an immediate member of this parliament, how do you rate the current parliament in its operation in terms of legislation and oversight?
Well, I think this parliament has many new members of parliament, younger, very ambitious, very expectant, and I believe that they are doing very well with the effort and hard work they're having at the moment. We cannot rate them in the first 1 year, but they have started well. They know what they want. They are more focused. As a cabinet secretary, the pressure I get from members of parliament shows that they know what they want from their constituents, and I think it's our job to support them to make sure that they grow in their political career.
Thank you. Thank you. The CS, as I later, the CS has joined the president. CS, how do you say with the president's speech, especially now with you with the new docket of oversight of other ministries?
Well, I'm very happy. I think the president was very clear that we may not be there, but we are making substantial progress, and the foundation is strong. And I think the areas he has enumerated shows that as we go on, I think we are going to build the curve on so many things. Particularly, I'm very happy about the pronouncement of the NYS, which is under my ministry, that 80% of anybody who is hoping to join the security forces has to come through NYS. Na tuko tayari, niko tayari kufundisha. The capacity ya kufunza hao kabisa. Yes, and you know the good thing with this is because once they come through NYS, even when we take them to Kikanjo, they will take shorter time. That's saving costs because already they have undergone paramilitary training at NYS. Thank you.
Maybe back to members of parliament and how they really feel about today's, because this was your day to host the president, to highlight all the issues. Very quickly, a minute each. What do you take of the president's speech today?
Thank you very much. As a member of this house, a first-time senator, I would say that the president has elucidated the role that we as parliament has played in laying a foundation to his manifesto and achieving, the dreams that he has and the goals that he has for the people of Kenya. Most importantly, he has said that the laws that we've passed, especially the health laws that we've passed, the effect of and the net effect of those laws that he has signed into national law are being felt on the ground. The UHC, the community health promoters, we are already getting fruits from it, but we expect even much more.
Thank you. Thank you. Member for Mogotio Kiborek, Honorable Kiborek, what do you take of today's speech by the president, particularly when you come from the bandits hit zone of the North Rift? What do you take of the president's threats to the bandits and the financiers and all those that are facilitating this process?
Thank you, Leto. From the president's speech today, President is a president who was elected at such a time that the country is facing a lot of problems, from insecurity, from food security, from banditry, from economy, and many other crises. To me, I can equate with Winston Churchill when he said we are in the moment of blood, sweat, and toil to make the country work and to make the country better.
Is there a solution to this banditry in the north?
There is, and as we speak now, the guns are silencing slowly by slowly, and the president has promised us that the police and the army will remain in the ground for as long as it takes to bring down to silence the guns. So we want to echo the president's resolve in terms of bringing security and bringing food security and many other insecurity in this country. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's have a gender balance at least. Right. And so that tell us, the president today has spoken on a wide range of issues. What is this one thing that really caught your eye, not only as a Kenyan but as a woman in the Kenyan parliament?
One thing I want to appreciate that President has honored his word in terms of ensuring that what he promised Kenyans, or what we promised as a government, has been able to achieve. One of my greatest happinesses is in matters of agriculture. The cost of the fertilizer from 7,000 to 2,500. The farmer who is very happy to state that his produce has been able to be doubled. Why? Because the cost of production has also been lowered. That also increases our food security in this country, which is a very big milestone, very big achievement. Matters the markets that are going to be there, which are also going to be very fully equipped with electricity and other amenities, then that are going to give opportunities to our mama mboga to be able to run their businesses, which then runs the economy and improves the situation that are in place. So we've achieved a lot. Hustler Fund, we've had the guy in Mombasa, and I'm happy that the president is also having the direct direct call to Kenyans, something that he did during the campaigns. There was direct interaction, something that is still happening even currently. Yeah.
Maybe thank you. Maybe before I hand over to Seth Olale to take on the senator for Mandera and the rest of the senators, there has been one great issue that has been of a debate today, and the increase in the charges of various government services, from marriage certificate, identification cards, that has already been suspended by the courts. But what do you as members of parliament have to say about that?
Very unfair to Kenyans, increasing the cost of everything, in terms of the issue of death certificate, birth certificates and everything, even marriages. And I think it is high time for the president to review the same and revoke this increment. Secondly, the president falls short on addressing the issues of stalled projects. There are so many roads countrywide which he has not even touched and addressed. Issues of electrification, we have not heard anything, and I think so many things need to be addressed. So far, I am not really impressed by the speech, except the issues of agriculture. He has really dealt them with well, but we need to be told the issues of stalled projects.
Well, at the other side, there is, of course, just refreshments going on, and the president interacting with some of members of parliament. But let me hand over to Seth Olale, my colleague, to pick it up from here.
Well, right away, because of time, we'll just go straight to the Mandera Senator, Ali Roba, also a former governor, actually two-term. But just tell us about, your sentiments in regards to the President's State of the Nation address today. What score would you give the President, just to start with?
Well, the statement is good. While it gave a lot of hope to the rest of the country, the statement has largely ignored the pastoralist community, where most sectors in other regions have been mentioned, and a problem that is bedeviling this region, such as livestock sector investment, has not been touched at all. The issue of Hustler Fund, because of the interest issue, and the Islamic community is not benefiting that region, and it has been discussed.
And your county is one of the hardest hit. We see Elwak submerged right now.
Absolutely, and the prevailing situation of El Nino that has really caused a lot of havoc in the region, which is something that should have been of grave concern to the government, has not been mentioned. It really has left me, unimpressed as a leader from the region, and that region largely ignored. The impression it gave is that of all of us are equal, but others are more equal than others, sort of scenario, because the problems that are that is affecting that region has not been touched, and that is my take, despite other issues that having been mentioned by the president. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. That is Ali Roba, the Mandera Senator. Just some gender balance before I come to you, Honorable Kerry, but Rangwe MP, Lillian, what do you take? What is your reaction in terms of your expectations from the president's speech today?
Thank you, Seth. I appreciate the media. Personally came here. I didn't want any reported speech. I wanted to come and listen and take note, so that even when I address the media, I address the media from the point of information. The main thing that actually brought me to Parliament was not even for the presidential address. The president came to Homa Bay. He promised me a road himself. So I wanted to ask him about the road he promised me. So immediately he stepped out. I asked him about the road he promised me when he came to Homa Bay, and he said he was going to act. That was the main thing that brought me, because being a member of Azimio, I can't go to State House to ask for that unless Raila tells me to go.
Okay, but you are talking about development. What is your take about the president's address on development in general?
On development in general, there was populism, because when the president starts addressing specific people in specific areas, it brings in populism. It should have just, it was well contained though, when he talks about the primary health care givers, the ones who are at the villages. That is what touched me most, because these mostly are women. They have always been ignored, and right now they have been brought on board. I've personally seen my own governor, Gladys Wanga, put them on a payroll. So that was good on economic empowerment of women. About subsidized agriculture, he also brought in something on...
let us just cut you now because we have to hand over to Jemutai Goin. I'll just take now from MP Kiarie Dagoretti, just before we hand over very quickly to Jemutai Goen, who is also standing by here at Parliament Buildings with the host of other guests, just what do you make of the President's State of the Nation address today?
Seth, you're a communicator, and there are two things I'd like to report on. One is the style of delivery, and two, the form. On the style, you see that the President came up very well. In fact, some Kenyans think that he was doing it out of his memory and out of his mind, but he was actually using the technology of a teleprompter, which was very well presented. Still on style, the President, before delivering the speech, had spoken to hundreds of Kenyans last night on phone, from farmers to fishermen to beneficiaries of the Hustler Fund to community health volunteers, so that he was speaking on issues that are speaking to the Kenyan. But on form, I would like to say that it was short, packed and punchy. He was able to cover the areas that is required to cover on the matters of national development and aspirations, on security, on our international obligations, and in summary, he has told us that he has laid the foundation in the last 1 year. If the foundation is firm, I know we can springboard to the development that is promised in the Kenya Kwanza plan. He's done a good job.
Thank you, he's done a good job. And Jemutai Goen, right now, I know you're also on standby with quite a number of members of parliament who actually were there, very present during that 1 hour or so delivery speech from the head of state. Goen, what are those legislators telling you right now?
You've heard the divergent views from various members of parliament from across the political divide, each having some sort of lukewarm response to what was the State of the Nation address issued by President William Ruto. But I'm joined by Mwangi Kiunjuri. What is your feeling about the address? You listened to it almost an hour and 15 minutes long. What was your general pickup from that address?
My feeling is that the President was able to address issues that concerns the nation, issues that Kenyans have been asking whether there is hope. And at the end of the day, with the President address today, we can see clearly that there is light at the end of the tunnel, because he has been able to articulate a number of things, issues to do with the cost of living. He has been very categorical that he's going to follow up his transformation agenda, whereby he must make sure that he empowers Mwananchi, that is the common man, and especially on issues to do with agriculture. And we are doing very well. And you see, there is no way this country is going to come back again on track unless we are able to boost issues to do with agriculture, because one of his promises was to eradicate hunger in this country. And to empower Kenyans, we must ensure that the farmer is taken care of. Issues to do with the hustler, again, the hustler fund has taken shape at the same time. Today, we have heard of experiences coming from all the corners of the country, whereby for the first time, Kenyans are confident, the world is confident that Kenyans are creditworthy. You look at issues to do with health, again, the reforms that are taking place, they might be painful, and most of the things the President is doing are really painful to Kenyans when it comes to issues to do with taxation. But what he's telling Kenyans is that for us to come out of the big hole, we have to sacrifice, work together. And if you get a healthy nation, you have to ensure that the country is well-fed. At the same time, the health issues that affect our people, issues to do with the diseases, the way to fight the bills that we have been encountering, and with the reforms that have taken place through the reforms that are being carried out through the bill that was introduced, issues to do with health care, primary care, and also preventive issues. The country will be able to move forward. And it will not be easy for us to do so. We have to sacrifice here and there.
There are some that have said there are some concerns and they feel like there's a very slow pace in implementation. Do you feel that?
The pace is, you should understand that where we are coming from, that we had been endangered. If we had moved the way the country was moving, and we did not take those stringent measures that are a bit painful, the country could have gone to dogs. If you look at the countries that were at the same position that we are today, countries like Ghana, they have already been blacklisted. if you look at the issues we are dealing with our debt, question about debt, like the Euro bonds, that are really pinning, because every day that comes, the way shilling is going down, every day inflation goes up, every day the dollar goes up. It means the country is borrowing without really going anywhere to ask for any resources from any country, because any increment, if the dollar today is 150, tomorrow the dollar goes to 152. It means the country is borrowing $2 for every $1 that every inflation coming in. Meaning, with the Eurobond, with the debt that we're having in the country, even without borrowing, Kenyans will undergo the pain. I'm happy that the president has already cleared the issue, that on the issue of Eurobond that is coming up in June, maturity, already 500 billion will be paid, allowed 500 million euro dollars will be paid by end of December this year. And by June next year, we shall have already been able to pay up the boat.
So no default.
Meaning there is no default, meaning we shall be opening the headroom once again, that we can be able now to factor in development in our budget. And that is how you are going to spur the economy of this country.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And also joining me is Nairobi woman representative Esther Passaris. What are your 3 takeouts from the president's speech today?
Well, first thing, I mean, he understands that the cost of food was really a big problem to a lot of people, and he addressed it by saying, look, we've given fertilizers, we're registering all farmers, we're making sure that Kenya never has to be in a place where it cannot afford to feed itself, where it imports food, where it struggles with food prices. So he's putting in the mechanisms to make sure that we can have food available and affordable. And he did talk about prices coming down, and I think with the rains that we've been blessed, hopefully the prices will come down even more. And then when food is available, people have also got livelihoods, right? I like the fact that he's really focused on the independence of the judiciary, and that's something that he's proud of, giving them the budget, letting the judges run their own affairs, the police. You know, the police creating a task force to look at their remunerations, and also police housing is one of the big agendas that we have. And then also housing as a whole, and the ecosystem and the holistic way that housing will help create job opportunities, improve on skills, and also give people decent accommodation. I think all in all, he's setting the pace to deliver and make sure, and he's still very focused on the most marginalized. He didn't talk about big industries. He talked about how can we, of course, big industries will come in because the contractors who are going to be building the houses are big, but he's focused on what is the impact of all that big. He touched on the border. He touched on the electrician who said that, you know, I'm supervising 100 electricians. So I think all in all, the biggest problem we have, as far as I'm concerned, is we've got a huge population and we're not managing the population growth. And as a result, no matter what we do, we might have a problem absorbing everyone. So I really hope that we have a balance with population, because every country has limited resources. But all in all, I believe that the president has worked very hard. And the big elephant in the room has always been corruption. And he has said he's not going to tolerate corruption. And then debt. He's also said that he's looking forward to paying the Euro bond. So if all that works out in the next State of the Nation address, if we see that he's achieved all that, then we can say that, you know, he's trying to get out of a hole. Is very, very difficult. He cannot get out of that hole that the country finds itself on his own. He needs the support of everyone. So all of us should team together and really give him the support. I wish the bipartisan talks absolute success, so that together we can build a prosperous nation.
Thank you very much. That was Esther Passaris. Divergent views, of course, expressed. They say the president has done the best he can, and he requires time. Remember, when he attended Sunday service at the Mama Ngina Drive on Sunday, the president stated that he had learned something, that he also is one person that expects a lot of results from even members of his cabinet, and said maybe there's need to exercise a little bit of patience to allow for initiatives that have been initiated or commenced to mature and come to fruition. Also joining me is